the Oakland A's in this move to Vegas.
Oh, Nick, you breaking my heart, brother.
Sorry about it, man. Ain't my fault.
You're breaking my heart.
And we're going to talk about that story right now. Tabitha Mueller from the Nevada Independent joins us on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Tabitha, thank you for the time. It is much appreciated. We appreciate you. Was there any surprise that the public funding bill passed this week?
I don't think that it was a surprise that the public funding bill passed this week. I mean, we had seen a lot of discussions about it. I think it was a surprise that it had died in the regular legislative session. But as soon as the governor kind of brought it back and said this was kind of his priority for this second special session, I think it was from there, it was just kind of a matter of figuring out what the team would agree to, what the lawmakers would agree to, and kind of getting it moving forward.
Tabitha, I've been enthralled with this legislation and bill since it was even mentioned. One, because I'm a huge A's fan, and second, because I really enjoy my time when I go to Las Vegas. And with that being said, I see where the money on the state is going, where they're going to kick in for the A's to come to Vegas. But in layman terms, can you really break down where this money is really coming from? And does it mean, personally, I'm going to have to pay more resort fees coming my way down the road?
Well, let me tell you, if you visit Las Vegas, I don't think that this deal means that you personally will end up paying more in resort fees. Essentially, what this deal is, it's $380 million in public financing is kind of what we're talking about here. $180 million of that is coming from the state in terms of transferable tax credits. You have some of that money also coming in the form of bonding and from the county, and then so transferable. And then just like a $25 million credit as well. And I think that what we're seeing in terms of how these credits get paid back and the bonding is repaid is through tax revenue generated by the stadium. So let's say you go to the stadium and you buy a hot dog and you wear a baseball cap and you also buy a flag for the team. The taxes on those items would go to pay for the stadium, if that makes sense. And it would only affect the stadium.
Gotcha. Tabitha Mueller with us here on Sactown Sports, Cattles and Rami. Rami out, JJ in for him. Any shot that the governor, Tabitha, doesn't move this along?
I mean, I think I can't say for sure 100% the governor doesn't veto or change this, but I think it is highly, highly, highly unlikely that the governor would veto this piece of legislation, right? He called everyone in after the regular legislative session was over because Nevada only meets every 2 years for 120 days to determine all the laws for the state. And when he called people back, that's taxpayer money that's going into, he said, I want this deal in my hands. And so my guess is that he signs it. And we're hearing maybe in a couple of days, although who knows?
Right. Very true. Here with Tabitha Mueller of Nevada Independent. Tabitha, as a Nevada resident, in your mind, the feel is, do you believe that there's any way, shape, or form that the people of Las Vegas didn't want the A's to come?
You know, so first off, I live up in northern Nevada, and actually we're closer to the A's now than they will be when it goes down south to Las Vegas. And I think that there were some folks that were very frustrated with this. I think there were some folks that were very excited about this. A lot of people don't pay attention to the legislative process, and so I think there were quite a few folks, too, who didn't even know this was happening, right? Wow. I think that the biggest concern from a lot of constituents is, you know, what we heard, at least from opponents of this, is why are we putting money toward this when we maybe should put money toward education or housing or something like that, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that. And we heard some of those questions from the state Senate earlier this week. Tabitha Mueller is on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Tabitha, is John Fisher in Major League Baseball overlooking how much it matters that the Golden Knights were actually founded in Vegas, and they didn't relocate when they talk about the expectations of interest for this franchise?
I mean, obviously they knew the success of the Golden Knights. They knew where the Golden Knights came from. The people who wrote this bill also wrote the bill to bring the Raiders to Las Vegas. And I'm preemptively sorry that we've stolen two teams from you guys over there. But you know, I think that was not a consideration when they were looking at this, and they've continually said that they think that Las Vegas in and of itself is sort of a unique area. Now, a lot of economists have sort of panned public funding for stadiums, so I think it's going to devil's going to be in the details when we finally see when it's built, what it's producing, those kinds of things.
Tabitha, when it comes to Las Vegas, I would imagine you know the structure 10 times well more than I do. As far as where they're going to actually put this stadium, which is on, it seems to be Tropicana land right now.
Yeah.
From your standpoint, does it seem to be, I guess, I guess what I'm asking is, does it make sense financially to add another team to Las Vegas in the location of where the A's are trying to, situate?
Well, I think lawmakers think that it is. But I think one of the things that's also interesting about this is where they're putting the stadium, they're actually not going to have to pay the property taxes on that parcel of land. So, I mean, in addition to that $380 million that we're talking about, there's also, I mean, a lot of money that would be paid in property taxes that is not going to go back to the county, that is not going to go to the state, right? That's just money that the team or the stadium authority will not have to pay. As for the kind of financial aspects of this, lawmakers said in the assembly yesterday that this parcel of land that it's being proposed to be put on is a very valuable piece of real estate, right? It's on the strip. It's close to the airport to a certain degree, and that's also something that they're going to have to consider when they put in the stadium and lighting and that kind of thing. But it's also got, it's something else would have been built there, is what the assembly members said. And so, I can't say whether or not this was the best thing that will go here. I think that there's been a lot of pushback on stadium deals recently. I mean, the former governor, Steve Sisolak, said, I can't remember when, but it was a while ago, that he would not support public funding for another stadium. He did change that a couple of weeks ago and went back on that statement. So, I think time will tell.
Tabitha, thanks for the time. We appreciate you. Great stuff, and have a good weekend.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Tabitha Mueller from the Nevada Independent on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. One thing I've been bouncing around in my head, JJ, is whether or not Vegas can support multiple professional franchises as they continue to stockpile. You got the Golden Knights, you got the Raiders, Major League Baseball is coming in now. We hear that the NBA wants a franchise in Vegas.
WNBA is already there.
Yep. The
Minor
Aces.
League Baseball.
I mean, you have so many things already going on in the city. Is it going to be endless?
You're right.
Will you be able to continue to have the magic that the Golden Knights have had? We know Raiders games, there's a lot of tourists at Raiders games, but the difference is that you got one football game a week and people can fly in and fly out.
Right.
So weeknights, NBA game, you're going to have 20,000 people in the stadium? The arena?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Baseball, 162 game schedule. They're not budging on that. Nope. You're going to have people there in the middle of the week when it's 115 degrees out in Vegas? Even if you're in a dome, which they will be air conditioned, are you still going to be there? So I do think there's a legitimate question whether or not Vegas can support all of these teams. And if they can't, there's going to be a lot of regret in corners of the sports world making these decisions.
Unfortunately, Nick, I think John Fisher will be long gone by that time. I think he'll be out, you know, and it won't matter one way or another if Las Vegas and the city and the state of Nevada can support what the A's are putting down. And I think that's part of the conversation, you've seen in the Senate and Assembly over the last couple of weeks is, quite frankly, can you trust John Fisher? Can you trust Dave Cavill? Can you trust the A's organization to deliver and, really put some emphasis on what they're saying and the land and the money and, and that's why the financials of it is one thing I do know about anything, Nick, is it comes down to finances one way or another. If you want to go take a vacation, do you have the money to go do so? If you want to go out and eat, do you have the money that, to properly go and do that? Or are you going to have to, go home and look what's in your pantry and cook it? And that's why it's very interesting to see the Assembly and the Senate and the legislators really push this through. And here we go again, creative finances, man. Creative finances. It's going to be very interesting because one thing we know is John Fisher ain't coming up off the wallet.
No doubt.